नमस्ते। आप सबका एंडिंग व्यू में बहुत-बहुत स्वागत है। आज हमारे साथ एक बहुत स्पेशल गेस्ट अ, हैं। उनका नाम है बेन, ओके? लोग उनको प्यार से बेन बाबा भी कहते हैं, ओके? सो सो मेरी बेन जी से मुलाकात हुई थी हिमाचल प्रदेश के एक रिट्रीट सेंटर में, जहाँ पे हम लोग सांख्यकारी का सांख्य फिलॉसफी जैसे आप सब लोग जानते हैं एक हमारा एक इंडिया का एक फिलॉसफी है जिसमें हम लोग साथ में एक कोर्स कर रहे थे तो वहाँ उनकी मेरी मुलाकात हुई सो the interesting thing about Ben is that Ben took a travel like a he walked from Switzerland to India which is about a 5,000 kilometer journey and he walked okay और वो और उनकी ये उन्होंने ऐसा क्यों किया और फिर वो भारत में आके बस गए सो विदाउट फर्दर अडू लेट्स वेलकम बेन बेन नमस्ते
ओ, नमस्कार। आपसे मिलके बहुत खुशी हुई। बहुत खुश हूँ आपके साथ आप मिलना सिद्धार्था ऑनलाइन पे और बहुत खुश हूँ सब लोग जो देखते हैं भी मिलना। Very happy to meet all of you. Maybe not face to face, but spirit is goes beyond distance. So it's a great honor to be here, and thank you for your introduction.
You're welcome, Ben. And I'm sure I've not done justice to the introduction. And I would like you to, I'd like give you the stage to open up the discussion and talk about yourself. Talk a bit about your background, your childhood, and then eventually we'll talk about this journey. We will talk about this journey. And as people can see that you're also very very fluent in Hindi, so we can make it a little bilingual. Okay, so I
Yeah.
would switch to Hindi and English, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers also understand both the languages. So like
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
So can you talk a bit about your childhood? Where were you born, and how was your childhood like? And so
So
tell
I
us a
was
little about
born.
that.
I was born in Switzerland. Switzerland में जन्म हुआ. I was born in a very loving family, an amazing family that really gave me the freedom to do whatever I wanted, and the it seemed like I had everything. According to the standards that we think when most people think what is happiness, then I would have all of that, including the relational part. Um, but I needed something. I needed some kind of challenge because I felt like kind of reaching a plateau. Like we have everything we need, and somehow something's still missing, and it's hard to point out what. So I had a calling to go to the east when I was 18 years old. I had a calling to go to China and learn with the Shaolin monks. So Shaolin monks are they're Buddhist, but they mix Buddhism with martial arts. Martial arts are ये भी एक yoga की अभ्यास है. Martial arts is a type of yoga, and in China it's not so different from Indian yoga, and the philosophy is very important, and it's linked with Buddhism, it's linked with Tao, and so in China I really this time I spent. So at 18 years old, I thought I would take a gap year to China, and uh, then go back to university. But in the end, my time in China was so transforming, and I came upon one book. Maybe some people know it. It's the Tao, this Chinese, very little Chinese book. And
Yeah.
this book changed my life because they say, stop trying to be first. Stop. The people who show the less ego, they will actually be put the highest. If you try to put yourself last, actually you will be considered first by everyone. And if you try to be the best and to look good and to win the competition, then you will only get you don't get respect because it's very thin shell. So this is very similar to the Hindu philosophy, which is a non-ego, uh, not me, not I, not mine, and this is exactly what they say. So I stopped
Yeah.
trying to look good. I stopped trying to be the best, and instead just
You look
relaxing.
great, Ben.
So this time, and just this very simple principles turned my life around, and I realized if I go back to Switzerland to study physics like I wanted before that, it couldn't do 1% of the good that I could do to the world if instead I follow this path of just peace. So my path changed, and so I didn't go back to Europe after 1 year. I stayed. I stayed in China longer. I discovered Vipassana as well. I discovered quite a few practices that were still developing on my path, and that was a trip. But ever since then, I've been nomadic, but still taking transport, taking any kind of transport, hitchhiking or planes or anything. But then at 24 years old, was it 20? Yeah, 24. Um, I had a calling that I had a calling to go to India, and it was just a dream I had at night, and it was a calling to go there on foot. So then I decided take my traveling or take my practice to the next level, and all this that I've learned about meditation and the Tai Chi about physical posture, now I should apply it by walking across the planet to India. So
Wow.
that it's actually walking meditation, and we know the oh here he is the Buddha was very maybe not half of the time, but a good part of his practice was not sitting like we always see him, but just walking slowly, walking one place, then turn around, walk back, turn around, walk, and so we that part of him is maybe less famous, but walking meditation is also a very big thing. So um, I decided to make a 5 year walking meditation to India. And so it's involved
Wow.
crossing 18 countries. It was all of Europe, then Turkey, a little bit of Iran, Armenia, Georgia, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, China, Pakistan, and India. And you mentioned 5,000 kilometers. Actually, if there was some kind of highway really going taking the shortest way, it would be 5,000. Maybe even Google Maps would say 5,000. But my road was quite a bit longer because my road went
Really?
all over the place and through Kazakhstan and through the north. And so in the
Yeah.
end, my road was 15,000. And
Wow.
it could have been 5,000 if I was, if I really went like
Flying,
straight.
maybe. Yeah. Straight line. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But in the end, it is quite a bit longer. One reason was to go around Afghanistan,
It's
but
possible that
another
on
reason,
your way back, you get enlightened like Milarepa and you can fly back. Yeah, it would be a 5,000 kilometer on your way back, I guess.
yeah. And so I never really took the shortest path. Also, if a country has this shape, I wouldn't like walk through it, but I would walk around the coast just to see it. For example,
Yeah.
I I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the trip. So
Yes.
maybe one thing that I'd like to share with you that so that we're not just sitting for an hour and we're not just in our mind for a whole hour. One of the most valuable things I discovered on the road, it took about 2 months to develop this, but is how to do yoga everywhere. Because having a mat and having a yoga room is great, but when you're not only when you're traveling, but just when you're living life, you don't always have these kinds of
Yeah,
things to do.
I would like to know that. Yeah, for me right now, I'm so attached to my. You've seen my place. I'm so attached to my place and my yoga practice and my meditation practice that I've not been traveling for a while. I mean, and so it would be
Okay.
great to know that. And I
Okay.
love to travel. So it's something which all of us, all of our guests and people who are listening to us would greatly benefit. So yeah, why not?
So I developed a routine that would allow me to walk nonstop,
Hmm.
several days, even without sleep, and without breaking my knees, without any pains anywhere. All I would do is that after 1 hour of walking, I would stop. And this routine has two important parts. One, it has to be very short because if it takes 15 minutes or 20 minutes, then we always have an excuse. Oh, I have no time to do that. And another thing is we have to be able to do it anywhere, even on muddy, dusty ground. So I came up with this one, or I kind of, this is a result of a few years of yoga and Chinese practices, but I'd like to share it with you. And I'd like you, whoever is watching this, I'd like you to stand, and if you have space, if you have enough space behind you, then I invite you to do it with me. It's
Do
just
you want me
one.
to stand? Do you want me to stand here?
Yeah, like if you have space enough to
I
just, if
guess
you have
so. I can try.
space, then yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you can just follow along with me. It's very
But
short. It's just one.
I'm not in the frame though.
As long as you don't break anything.
Okay.
This compresses
Yeah.
one knee. This opens the other knee.
Okay. Like this.
Yeah. And after having done both sides, hanging down, so it works on the spine. Unroll the spine. We've done the legs, we've done the spine. I do one knee, let go. The other side, let go. Other knee, let go. Behind, let go. And one last one is just a kind of wave, kind of circles with the spine. And and that's it. And then I keep walking.
Hmm.
And it
Thank
really
you.
doesn't
Thanks
take
for
long, but
sharing.
afterward, I don't know how you feel now or how whoever's watching this, how they feel, but I feel great. I feel much better than I did 2 minutes ago.
Me too.
And it
Yeah.
really,
Yeah. I feel.
I feel like
Yeah.
it makes the body, especially after the body is a bit aching from movement, I feel like it makes
Right.
the whole body buttery smooth. And I feel like I'm not walking anymore, I'm just floating. And 1 hour later, things start to get heavy, and I do this one more time, and then I'm floating, and it
Yeah.
really works. It's been tested and approved over many kilometers. So I really suggest, no matter what you're doing, if we're working online, exactly same kind of problems. It's not because of over stress or over walking, but it's because of maybe under movement. We don't move enough. So every hour we can also get up and do that. Or waiting for the train, or we can really do it everywhere. So this is a great way to enhance life in a very easy, just really free manner. It doesn't actually take up any time. So that that's maybe my favorite discovery of this journey. And so I made it to India, to the Indian border. Lockdown happened just behind my back. So I was in India, and then the world got locked because of COVID. So super grateful.
So you were
And
happy for that, right? That you were stuck in India.
actually, that's where I wanted to be stuck anyway. In a way, for me, yeah. Otherwise, without the COVID, I could never have stayed 1.5 years just without getting out of the country. So otherwise, after 6 months, I would have had to find a way to get a new visa. Maybe I don't know where in Nepal.
Which is not so
So yeah,
difficult actually. Like, if you
hmm?
go to Nepal, if you go to the neighboring countries like Nepal or Thailand or maybe even Sri Lanka,
Yeah,
and people go and come back.
yeah. People do that, but people don't do it on foot.
Yeah.
And I like, you know, a visa run on foot is almost impossible because by the time I get there, my visa would already be gone, and so I would probably have to end up taking transport for that kind of thing. But I'd rather avoid it because I love the feeling of just staying on the ground and being connected
But
everywhere
this
I am.
So let's talk a bit about this to our audience. So in these 5 years, you were walking. You rarely took any form of transport to move, right? So you just took transport for running errands, like getting a visa or
Mm,
things like that, right?
yeah.
So could you talk a bit about that? Like, if did I get it right?
Yeah, that's right. So after about 2 years of walking, of really being strictly on the ground. Entering
Mhm.
into Kazakhstan, I realized I had to change the premise a bit because Kazakhstan only gave me 1 month of visa time, and it takes at least 5 months to cross. It's several thousand kilometers. So I decided I would make this rule where I can take transport, but there's two very important rules about transport. The first is that it has to bring me back to wherever I was previously on foot. So the
Mhm.
transport won't bring me further. It won't break the continuity of my trip. So even all my stuff stays where I was, and I take transport with one bag and my passport is inside and my wallet's inside, and I go to some border somewhere and I get a stamp to do my visa. Then I come back to exactly where I was. I get back to my stuff and I keep walking. So I'd rather avoid that kind of thing, but politics make it so. At least the line stays continuous, and that's still it's not so bad, not such a bad compromise. And my second rule was that this kind of transport has to be necessary. It has to be either for dharmic reasons, either really to help someone, or either unavoidable, inevitable, like in my case for visa questions. But still, my line with this kind of loops, even these loops I made, the line stayed continuous all the way to China. Then in China, I was forced on transport for about 150 kilometers by the army, and I couldn't do
Wow.
much about it. But oh well, I still did my best. So in China, there's a bit of that, but it's not so much. In Pakistan, I was forced on transport maybe for 40 kilometers total. And even though it was 1,000 kilometers walk through Pakistan. So in the end, also very small. So these two countries, sometimes by the army for political reasons and military reasons, I was forced on transport. But in the end,
So
it
we'd like
makes
to know, our viewers would especially like to know about Pakistan. Like, what was this 40 kilometers, and why were you, yeah,
so in Pakistan, there's a whole state called Gilgit-Baltistan. No, Gilgit-Baltistan is still perfect. The state that's under military control, let's say, is Khyber Pakhtunkhwa,
yeah,
and we call it it's like a restricted area. So actually,
okay,
foreigners aren't allowed to be anywhere by their
okay,
own. So they can go through, but it's very strict government rules. They need armed security. They need an armed escort with them 24 hours. And then we're not paying for the escort, but we have to accept what that implies. So for
okay,
me, it meant that for about 500 kilometers, so for almost a month, for 3 weeks, I was 24/7. I was with the army, and most of the time, I managed to convince them to walk with me. And for them, it was like, oh, instead if you force them on transport, my job would be their own job would take 30 minutes, but instead they need to walk with me from morning to evening. And in the end, they almost all the time they agreed to walk with me, so I had the army walking with me all day until the next military post, and then I would
right.
sleep there for free. And the next morning, another guard or a few other guys would be walking with me till the next military post. So they agreed to walk, but once or twice I came across divisions who weren't in a very good mood, and they were like, "No, you're not gonna walk. We don't have time for this. Come on." So they just put me on a car, and that explains the like 40, maybe 50 kilometers. But oh well, it's not so bad
Hmm.
because in
So
the end it's
Khyber
still
Pakhtunkhwa is that area which is bordering the tribal area bordering Afghanistan, right, in the
yes.
northwestern part of Pakistan.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So the reason they install uh, these escorts is that there have been violent events in these areas, sometimes against foreigners, sometimes just against each other. So that's true. That's a fact we can't neglect. But another fact we can't neglect is that no matter how much I actually tried to meet these so-called terrorists, and I would have loved to be facing one, and maybe I was, who knows? I would have loved to meet these famous enemies that the whole world is talking about. And I didn't. Or if I did, in that case, they weren't enemies, they were friends, and they were asking me to come for tea. And we were having a pleasant conversation, and then I would keep going. So I'm convinced that with our own point of view, with our own attitude, whatever we want to call it, if we want to call it the enemy or if we want to call it just a human being, whoever is in front of us uh, will will be friendly and will have no reason to harm us. So that is my experience through the places that the whole world considers dangerous. In my case, it wasn't dangerous at all, and just took a bit of respect. I was wearing shalwar kameez as well, the Pakistani outfit, and I was respectful towards their culture. And I was only invited for meals, for tea, for sleeping, and
Mm.
never anyone tried to harm me or even 1%, nothing at all. So very nice.
I'm wondering what would what would have happened if you were wearing what you're wearing and you were walking like that. So yeah,
Uh,
yeah, just
oh, if I
wondering.
was just like another way, like a sadhu,
Mm.
maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question, and who knows? But actually, in every country, I did my best to follow the local customs. So the religion, the clothing, the attitude, and the language as well. Always learning the language. I was learning Urdu in Pakistan, and
Oh.
in the end, it's not just about clothing. It's just my whole being, my whole experience, doing everything I can to honor the country that I'm crossing.
Hmm. So wow. So the coming back to India, and now we'll talk a bit about um, yeah, the philosophical aspects of India, which you got interested in. Like we met at a Sankhya Karika workshop, right? Sankhya
Mm,
is one of the six schools of Hindu philosophy. That's how they
mm,
classify it. So, how did
mm.
you get interested in? Of course, you spoke about Buddhism, that you're learning Taoism and Buddhism while you're staying in China. How did you get interested in Sankhya, which is in
Yeah,
a way different from Buddhism, and
yeah,
it's also similar but different. So, how did you
yeah,
get interested in that?
yeah.
And yoga is also,
Mm,
yeah, it's the kind of it's derived from Sankhya philosophy,
mm.
aspect
Yeah,
of
yeah.
yoga.
So if I look chronologically, the first seed of dharma that was put inside me, any kind of dharma, any philosophy that was really attracting me, was when I was, I think, 7 years old, and my parents made us watch the movie about Gandhi's life, Mahatma Gandhi,
Oh, the
like
Gandhi
3 hours.
movie by Ben Kingsley, was it that
I
movie?
don't know by
Original
who, but
title?
the 3 hour, the yeah, the
Yeah.
original biography of
The
Gandhi.
director was Richard Attenborough, the famous
Oh,
British director, and Ben Kingsley was the
oh yeah,
Gandhi
that's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
protagonist.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So who would think that a 3 hour movie that's just nonfiction, how could that interest kids our age? But actually, it's completely inspired me. I was just staring at this man. What is this ahimsa? Like he's so respectful. I've never seen that before in anyone. And so that was the first time I was so much inspired by a character, by a person, whether it on screen or in history or in real life. So, and then I came to look. Oh, he's a Hindu. What is this Hindu? I don't know what it is, but I really like it. So I guess this, and in the end, we can't even consider him really a Hindu because he would himself say, "I'm a Muslim, I'm a Jew, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Christian." He would say that word for word, and so we can't categorize him as one thing or another. But I was still this was the first thing that attracted me towards the Indian culture. And then yoga was, I guess, yoga. I grew up in a yoga center, so my mom is a yoga teacher. Of course,
Hmm.
that had an influence, and yoga just seemed to have a lot inside it, something very valuable that it seemed to be a very balanced, like it contains both extremes, and I feel like there's a lot to learn from it. And it contains the asana practices, whereas other forms of philosophy, they would tell you how to live your life, but they wouldn't tell you exactly what to do. Like do this practice, do that practice, physical practices. So yoga is very attractive from that point of view because they also consider the whole physical body, what you can do to have a body that's in shape. So, and probably what attracts me the most is not the exact words in the yogic texts, but seeing yogis, seeing what people become when they follow this, and seeing the Hare Krishnas dance around and sing Hare Krishna all day, all night, and then serve food. They call it ahimsa food. It is the cows were loved, the vegetables were loved, and they give all this for free, and seeing seeing the great wisdom inside the yogic teachings, and so seeing what it does to the people is also an amazing inspiration. So I thought at some point, sooner or later, I need to learn about the Hindu, or let's say the philosophies and their practices that we can consider as Hinduism. So now I'm here learning that, and learning the links, what's in common between Buddhism and between Hinduism. And
Yeah.
there's a lot in common. And even, yeah, last reason why Hinduism is very attractive is that even the Buddha himself was born in a Hindu setting, and he learned
Yeah.
all the Vedas, and he knew all that so well before taking his own path. So it also plays a major role in uh, his own practice.
Yeah. He never claimed to be something else, actually. So, yeah.
He never came to be something else.
Yeah, he never claimed to be,
I claim, yeah, yeah,
part of a clan or a sect or a
uh,
religion, or he never claimed to, create something. And it just,
yeah.
yeah. So,
uh,
so there is a famous saying in Sanskrit. Since for the benefits of viewers, let me tell all the viewers that you are very, very interested in Sanskrit, and whenever during the classes, during the Sankhya classes, also whenever you meet, you talk a lot about Sanskrit. You ask a lot of questions about Sanskrit. So there's a very famous Sanskrit saying which says that "Ekam Satya Vipra Bahuda Vadanti," means the truth is one. Vipra means wise people call it by many names. Yeah. So which also implies that you can reach the truth through various different ways, different paths, same summit through different paths. So yeah, so that's a beautiful saying. Have you heard about that? This
not this exact saying, but could you say it one more time so I can figure the words out?
ekam satya vipra
One truth.
bahuda vadanti.
What's the third word?
Bahuda. Bahuda is
Bahuda.
many. Yeah.
Many. Yeah, like bahut. Okay. Ekam.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not so complicated. Ekam sacha, one truth, basically, a unified
Ekam
truth.
satya. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
bahudam, many. And then last words.
Vipra bahuda. Vipra means wise people call it by
Okay.
many names. Vadanti means
Okay.
to speak. So
Vedanti. Vedanti. Okay.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good to know. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
That's
So see, I mean, I'm just the viewers can see how curious you are to learn even now. You're kind of taking every
Wait,
word, and you're
to write it down. I'll write it
amazing.
down after the interview. But I do when I learn something. For me, it's um,
Yeah, yeah,
quite an important part of my practice. Where's my book? Oh yeah, that's I write. I have this tiny book where I write everything in tiny. And when I
yeah.
learn something, I write it.
Of
Also,
course, you
when I'm
can do that.
crossing, yeah, but I'll do it after.
It's
Come
okay.
on.
We can just pause for 30 seconds. You can just note it down. It's all right.
Um, I'll write it after. It's okay. In the comments, let's write it, or we'll see.
Yeah, somebody
But
can comment. So I would take a couple of questions in the meantime. People are really happy to see you. They're saying Namaskar, Ben Baba, and SKUCC is asking, how long have you been in India, Ben?
अभी इंडिया में 1.5 साल रखता हूँ. लगभग 2 साल, almost 2 years now. Um, yeah, 1.5 to 2 years. And I want to stay still quite a bit longer. इंडिया में काफी समय रखना चाहता हूँ धर्म के बारे में सीखना के लिए, क्योंकि बहुत सीखना है और पूरी जिंदगी चाहिए ये इतना मूल्यवान संस्कृति के बारे में सीखना.
जी, जी, Sanskriti or Adhyatma,
जी.
there's a cultural aspect and there is Adhyatma.
Mm,
And
mm.
yeah, it's very interesting. And lifetime is less. And one thing which is very fascinated about this culture is that the culture and arts and poetry and music and spirituality, they're all connected together. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And the musical side is also very attractive and very um, all inclusive, and I really like it. Music and dancing and all the art forms. Some philosophies from other countries or other traditions, might even ban they might even ban entertainment
yeah,
or anything that's not just the bare practice.
yeah,
But Hinduism does the opposite. Just you use all these art forms as a way to, as an
yeah,
alternative way, another
yeah,
way to reach.
to go within, yeah,
Mm,
to get to the truth. Yeah,
mm,
yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, so for the benefit of the viewers, we were also together at a Indian classical music sort of retreat together, which is
mm,
uh, which is also known as the practice of music is also known as sadhana. Sadhana is a spiritual practice. So this is
yeah.
something which is not only musical practice, but
Yeah.
when we're doing sa re ga ma, and we are doing it mindfully. So it's a practice of um,
Mm,
going within. So
mm. And it
yeah,
also makes the bridge between the bear yoga, like in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, and between the whole musical side. Uh, that we have the mantras, pranayama, of course. When we were learning pranayama with Koshalji, I realized that is actually pranayam. I didn't know that. I thought we were just doing om, but actually, he's like om is one of the types of pranayam. There's this one, there's the kapalbhati, and so on, and one of them is om. And in the music class, we also started with we can say this or we can
yeah,
say the om instead.
yeah,
So
yeah,
in the end, these two practices have a very very direct link.
yeah,
Actually, doing pranayam, we're singing, but it's actually pranayam.
yeah, yeah. So it's fun, isn't it? Like play music and find God,
Mm,
find
mm,
yourself, and yeah.
mm. So after maybe should I finish the last little bit after reaching the Indian border?
Yes,
What's happening
please, please. Yeah,
to
yeah,
them?
yeah, yeah,
Uh, I was stuck for, well, we can call it stuck, but I spent 6 months in Punjab because I couldn't get to Himachal as the borders in between states were closed. So I was in Amritsar learning how to make the pagri, learning about the Guru Granth Sahib and Sikh religion, just seeing what that is and really
yeah,
loving it.
yeah,
After those 6 months, finally I made my way. Uh, it wasn't easy, but I made my way across the border with the whole in the middle of the COVID times, and made it to Dharamshala. And so ever since, uh, I've been practicing on my own, and for about 1 year, it's been mostly self practice because places are still closed, the monasteries are closed. But one place that was open is this deer park in Bir where I met Sidhartha ji, and this is very bright beacon of hope that this place is. It's like a monastery. They give all these amazing teachings, and they're open, and they're not still closing their doors due to COVID. So I think that's very beautiful. So slowly I can actually join places to learn this kind of thing. And in the meantime, there was Kumbh Mela as well, a walking trip
yeah.
to Kumbh Mela, and that's open. That is cool. Yeah, thank you.
So I have a whole section to talk about Kumbh Mela right now. So I was slowly getting there, and we will talk about your experience. I personally haven't had a real Kumbh experience so far. So I would like to
Mm,
know, about your
mm,
experience and how did
mm,
that happen, and what was your experience? What were the highlights? What did you learn from it? Yeah. So
mm.
first of all, as you know, let's you can talk about the experience, the logistical experience, and then
Yeah.
we can talk about the
So
the spiritual side of that.
mm. So the trip to Kumbh Mela had a premise. First, I thought I would do it alone, but then I met a friend and spiritual partner who not only she said I want to go with you, and I told her, but you're aware that we would walk there the whole way and we'll probably be sleeping outside and so on. You know that, right? It's 500 kilometers. She's like, yeah, I know. I want to do it with you. Okay. And on top of that, she added, and I want to do it without money and without a phone.
This was from
And
Dharamshala, right?
yes, this is in Dharamshala. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's more than 500 kilometers to Allahabad, right?
Uh, Not
Haridwar.
Allahabad. It was Haridwar. This one.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, Allahabad would have been more. Yeah, it would have been 1,000. But yeah, so this is 500, and it was actually her idea to do it absolutely moneyless and do it instead of money. We did it with lotas. We had one lota each, and we were dressed. Now I'm kind of dressed grasti, but we were dressed totally in orange, and we were actually monks. We were wandering monks, and in
Hmm.
fact, funny that we're talking about this now because very recently I just received the first paper copy of this experience that I was writing down the whole time. So we can't see very well, but here she
Okay,
is.
so this is for benefit of everybody. This is Ben's book, and maybe you can just bring it closer to the camera. We can just
Yeah.
so
So this,
two little wandering monks, right?
yeah.
Two
So
little wandering
before,
monks is the
yeah, two little
name of your
wandering.
book.
So what happened is that first, I didn't think I was going to write anything like this. I just thought this will be very interesting. So I'll just keep a journal that I'll write by hand. And so every day I was writing inside this journal. So this is the original text. It's written in really tiny.
But a very legible and clear handwriting. You have a very it shows that you have a very organized mind.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
so writing this out, in the end, it became so much that it became hundreds of pages. And I thought I should share this with the world. So in the end, it's very recently it became an actually published book. So this is the very detailed journey. But to make a bigger, wider summary of it, in the end she did walk with me there and she didn't complain and we both made it without just with the money we were receiving here or no money at all. But even the money we received we could almost never spend it. It was almost impossible to spend it because we would try to buy something and people were like, no, 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 keep the tomatoes and keep your money, we don't want anything from you. And by the way, come to my house, spend the night, and have some food. So
So in these were like if you're buying tomatoes, that means these were like vegetable sellers who were not really very rich, who were not from a very rich strata of society, and you're saying they were being
absolutely.
very generous.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
Some people, it was some people so poor that they were living like maybe five people living in a kind of shack made of plastic sheets inside one tiny room. Their kind of kitchen slash living room was just by the road, and it was a very dusty and a busy road. And they're making chapatis outside like that in front of their home, and they invite us for a meal, and they make one of the best meals we've had just because it was made with love and the cornbread, corn flour chapati.
The makai ka roti. That's what they call in
Yeah.
makai ki
And they
roti.
gave us all this, and we were like, they have nothing. Even with our lotas, I'm sure we had much more money than them, and they really had nothing. And yet they were so generous, and there was nothing for them. They didn't want anything in return. There was nothing at the back of their mind. So really, people with the less were usually the most generous. That
Hmm.
was amazing.
Hmm. And
So,
then we finally reached Kumbh Mela. So, what was your experience? Tell us about it. So,
so the experience there in Kumbh Mela as well, nobody goes hungry. There's a lot of poverty as in India. If you look for poverty, you can find it. But no one's actually hungry because they're just giving food. Where almost 24 hours, maybe not at 3 a.m., but like let's say during all the sunlight hours, at any time, if you want food, you go around, you will find someone who's distributing it for free. Some temple, some langar, and the I was staying. I ended up staying in Junakara thanks to my mom because my mom had Babaji friends who were staying in Junakara, so I ended up
wow,
there, and uh, and they have langars. They have like so many langars I couldn't count them, and just in this one akara, at least 20 that were giving food, not just for the sadhus but for the lay people as well. Usually divided, lay people here, sadhus here, but everyone gets free food, and some of them really amazing food, really like better than if you would go to the restaurant. Why is it better? Because it wasn't made for money. It was made for religion, for dharma, because there's
yeah,
no
for
money involved.
serving, yeah,
Mm.
for offering, and yeah.
So in the Kumbh Mela, still moneyless. I was being taken care of. I ended up with a wonderful Baba called Nanugiri, but I called him Smile Baba, and in my book I call him Smile Baba because he's just
Smile, Baba.
yeah. He smiles more than me, even though people usually tell me I over smile, but he smiles even more than me.
That's
So,
nice. It's better to smile than not to smile. It's better to over smile than to frown, I guess.
so he lives in the tiger reserve in Haridwar, in a bamboo settlement, really not much, and surrounded by tigers. And he chose to live there because he really likes tigers, and he has Durga Mataji on his shrine, and the tiger goddess. So I was living there, and it's a very beautiful community. And I met some of the Babas who met my own mom 4 years ago in Allahabad in the previous Kumbh Mela.
So your
So
mom was in Kumbh Mela as well before.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
My mom was in the previous Kumbh Mela.
In some way, she was an inspiration for you, was she?
Yeah, yeah. And in fact, it's thanks to her I had this idea of going to Kumbh Mela in the first place, because I was supposed to go there because we were supposed to meet there after years of not seeing each other. Oh, let's meet at the Kumbh Mela. Yeah, great idea. And so we have this in mind, and then COVID, still no visas, no tourist visas. So she couldn't come. And I think, okay, am I still gonna go or not? Even if she doesn't go? Yeah, of course I am. Like it's, the wheels turning. Let's go. So I still went, and then she's very much part of it. Yeah, very
Now I
connected.
see there's this adventurous streak in you is not an accident. It comes from her. This adventurous
Ah.
bone in you. Yeah, yeah. Just
So
wow. Wow. So continue about the Kumbh Mela. Yeah.
yeah, so several of the babas I met were her friends and kind of her babas to begin with. And so life over there was very simple. They live. None of these babas have four walls. They've probably never lived with four walls since their childhood. They just live. At best, they have a roof in case it rains, but otherwise, the lifestyle is so simple. No such thing as washroom or running water, or if you want water, you have to take it by hand. They carry the water on their backs to camp to be able to have a bit of water to wash their hands, and to go to the toilet, to washroom, you have to go into the tiger jungle. And so you can't go at night, so you have to do anything you need to do, you have to do it
Good.
before 6 7, because after dark the tigers go out because it becomes their playground. So
Mhm.
so it's very funny. And but those who live near the Ganga, like the Agoris, I spent a bit of time with them, and they live right by the Ganga and beside Shamshan. And so over there, it becomes like over there we really see how the Ganga is our mother and benefactor, not just as a religious symbol, but just very raw. necessities. You can wash yourself in it, you can drink it. It's just this constant source, and it's very clean water. So those who live by the Ganga, that was amazing. And my tiger reserve wasn't too far from the Ganga, about 10 minutes walk. So I was still
Was
bathing
it
in the
the
Ganga.
was it the Rajaji Tiger Park? Rajaji
I don't
National
know
Park?
the name, but it was uh it was quite big. It's a quite big area where naturally it's full of elephants and
Yeah, and there are a
tigers.
lot of elephants there as well
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah,
your
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. They're more dangerous than the tiger, actually, statistically
Ah,
speaking.
really? Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
know. Mm.
Yeah, especially the male elephant, the male, alone elephant. Especially, they're very
Mhm.
dangerous. Wow.
Okay.
So,
Mm.
interesting. So, I would like to know about your experience of Agori Baba. So, what's your understanding of Agor, and what was the experience as well as understanding, and what did you
Um,
learn from it?
my experience with them was that they tend to be seen as the most controversial, or the ones you should be the most be careful with, of the different akaras, or the different types of babajis. And they're dressed in black, and they wear these skull figures around their neck, and they live beside the shamshan, so they're
Yeah,
always
yeah.
around, and they have skulls, and they
Antisocial, and away from society, and do everything which is considered to be prohibited in
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
they break the taboos just for the sake of breaking them, just because we want to break free. And so all these things might make them sound a little scary. And in the end, there was no place I felt safer than with them. They were amazing, and they were not only they were smiling and full of love, but the stuff really came from inside. It didn't come from, oh, meta, metri, okay, practice, may all beings be happy, may all beings be happy. It came from inner nature. And so I think their practice is stripping away all the rules, stripping away all the artificial things that we add, and instead finding what there is at the deepest part. And from my experience seeing them, this is goodwill, compassion, and they're very, very good people. So they're very poor, but they give everything they can, and in the end I had a really, really good time with them. And in the end they were possibly the most smiling ones and the most joyful ones, because they party around death. And so they're around burning bodies, and they would take the ashes and celebrate holy by smearing, these
Wow.
dead people's ashes on each other's faces. But they're not crying, they're partying. And I think there's a there's a meaning to this, that if you can be joyful around death, then you're good. Like for life, you're good as well, because death is this one thing that scares everyone. And if they can be even partying around that, then they're probably partying around everything. So
Hmm.
this is the way I understood it. So I never looked into the the technical side of their beliefs, but that side I'm not sure is even that important at all compared to the presence of being with them, and seeing how they are. So this is
Hmm.
my experience from simply being with them. So
Hmm.
very, very positive. And my
So you
friend,
never got. Sorry,
mm,
go ahead. Go ahead.
okay, and my friend E, who was walking with me,
Yeah.
Shivania, she ended up actually living with them for 3 weeks. So I was in Junakara, and she found her own family. And in fact, it's the Agori Mataji who gave her the name Shivania. And they're still in contact
Ivania.
now. Shivania. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so in the end, I felt so good to know that she was with the Agoris. I was like, oh, she's somewhere safe. Someone is taking care of her. And who would have thought that amongst all the Babas, all the Akaras, who would have thought it to be the Agoris keeping her safe?
Wow.
Hmm.
So, but you never got fascinated with that part to learn more about it, or to understand their philosophy and
Uh,
practices.
yeah, well, I am very interested in it. Uh, I guess I'm just interested in so many things that I read some, I learn some, I read some, I learn some, and I haven't ever spent years just with uh,
Yeah.
one specialization. But I guess I'm learning from everyone. But in the end, they worship Shiva, they worship Rama. In the end, their philosophy is still they're yogis. They're perfect yogis. They do their asanas, they do their pranayam. They have healthy bodies. Uh, they chant Om, and in the end, they're yogis as well. So it's not so different from other
Yeah.
branches.
Yeah. Wow. Wow, wow, amazing. Amazing. Like, your life has been quite an adventure, huh? This is
Mm. Mm.
something. So,
Yeah.
some people are asking that where can they get hold of your book? Are they available on Amazon or where to order it?
Yeah, actually, it is available on Amazon. But if you want to get it straight from a local publisher, it's a website called poti.com, POTHI.com,
Pothi,
and
POTHI.com. Okay, I'll
yeah,
just write it down.
POTHI. So Amazon
Okay.
works. It's also on Flipkart, but Amazon and Flipkart, they're these big industries, the giants. And if you want to support just the little guys who are very humble and print these things out of compassion, then it's this small publisher, Footy.com.
Where are they from? Do you want to tell something about the publisher?
Where are they from?
Yeah.
This is just
Yes.
the Indian publisher, Bangalore. They're based in Bangalore, but this is
Okay.
yeah, because it's also internationally published. But and in fact, in legal terms, I should say printer instead of publisher. But this is just the formalities
Yeah.
because
Semantics.
it's self-published. But anyway, this is legal mumbo jumbo. But in for the international version, it's printed through Amazon. But for India, I decided it was good to make it at this small printing house. So yeah, so it's available there, and it's also available in a Kindle version for on Amazon.com. You can get it just electronic version. But probably we spent enough time staring at a screen already, so maybe better to get the paper.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah, yeah, all of us. Yeah, yeah. Let's start reading. Okay, so I see that your journey is, and by no way it's over. It still continues, especially the journey in India. So, so we would like to know what are your plans, immediate or say midterm plans. When I say midterm, next couple of years, what are you looking at, and if you'd
Yeah.
like to talk about that to our viewers.
So for many years and almost for basically for life or for an endless amount of time I want to spend in India. I don't want to go anywhere else. The only reason I would ever have to go to Europe is because my family's there. So if I need to take care of them or to support them or be there for them. But if not, with that question aside, India is my chosen place. I'm just here. I want to stay.
Wow. I'll just quickly just interrupt you for a moment, and I really feel vindicated because there was a time when I was in Europe, and
Uh,
then I chose not to live there for life because I was thinking of living there, and then I came back to India, and for similar reasons, and I really feel vindicated. Thank you. Sorry, continue.
so I want to stay here. And another question that comes to mind is same question as during my path. The actually number one hardship. It wasn't the hot sun. It wasn't the extreme distance. It wasn't the snow or the lack of food or water. The biggest worry was always man-made worries, visa questions, politics, how to cross this country in this much time, how to get the next visa, where to get it, and now it's in terms of living in India, it's the same. It's the biggest uncertainty about my future here is can I get visas long enough? Will they let me stay here? With the COVID thing, nobody really knows what will happen, and so let's see. All I know is that I'm doing my best, and I want to. If I could get if I could get anything that would allow me to stay in India legally for long term, then I would, and I'll do my best. And so that's in terms of time, the timeline, and in terms of what I want to do. In Dharamshala, I came to study. I was thinking one or few solid years studying Tibetan Buddhism, but that doesn't. None of the places are open yet. So then I decided, okay, earlier than that, turn more towards Hinduism. Nobody can close Babaji. Their caves don't have doors. You can't close it due to COVID.
Yeah.
So now I kind of thanks to that I turned more on in that direction. But at some point, I wanted to also walk around India, or let's call it, maybe we can call it Hindustan. So Hindi speaking India, and and a few key places. If I could see Bodh Gaya, if I could walk to Bodh Gaya one day, or if I could walk down to Bombay and through maybe Vrindavan, maybe through Kedarnath, and then at some point end up in Ladakh. And it would be a long walk around India, several years, and staying, and also to Gujarat, to Gandhi's ashram and birthplace. And so it would be a long pilgrimage around India, and every place, maybe 6 months, one place, 1 year, one place, and so on. And Ladakh, just to be far from everything in the mountains and practice there. So there's a few things like that I've had in mind for a while. And when will this happen? It's hard to say because, yeah, mostly because of politics. It's hard to really plan anything on the long term if I don't know. For now, I have a yeah, we're getting our visas on a weekly or monthly basis, and it's we never really know much, so it's hard to say anything for sure. But I believe, and whatever I do, it's in a good, uh, it's in the name of the Dharma and of improving myself and awareness.
Yeah, wow. A lot of our guests, one of our guests saying that Indian government should give Ben Baba Indian citizenship.
Ah, Baba visa, Baba card.
Well, I know, Ben, it's not so difficult. You should not be worried about it. Like I know people who've been here for 50 years. Um,
Mm,
so,
mm,
yeah. This lady Deborah. She was a colleague
yeah.
at yeah, during the Sankhya Karika. She's here for 30 years. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, it's not. It'll happen. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's always a way.
But may I know a reason why you also missed a very important chunk of India, which is like the southern part, the southern peninsula. Peninsula, you didn't talk about that, and also east, where my family originally hailed from, Bengal, and
Yeah,
you know,
so I didn't talk about the east, but it's also part of the journey. And for the south,
South
well,
is
actually,
great. I mean, they're very, very.
yeah,
I feel that they're still very connected with the culture. I mean, it's more than the
yeah.
north. I feel, it's just
Actually, for
just.
the south, it's probably because I'm too lazy, but not lazy to walk the distance, but lazy that I'll have to be learning a new language in every state. And for me, language is such an important part. Every country I'm crossing, I do my utmost efforts to learn their language. And if I don't know their language, it's happened like, where has it happened? In Uzbekistan, for example, they didn't speak Russian, even though I was learning Russian. They just spoke Uzbeki, and so I really didn't understand much. And I realized it's so valuable to be able to communicate, and so that's probably the number one reason that I would do my best to. I'd also like to become fluent in Hindi. So not only I really want to improve my Hindi, and also I see the difference it makes when we can communicate with the farmers, with the people who don't speak English. And so I guess that's the main reason why in my plans it's kind of sticking to northern middle or northern India. But
Yeah,
I know that if you know I could also go to the south and then just forget about the language or just speak English or
yeah,
try to learn every language. But yeah, let's see. Let's see. India is huge.
yeah. Sometimes it can take lifetimes, actually.
Yeah.
I've been traveling for a while, but I haven't seen everything in India yet.
Mm, mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's amazing, amazing. And This is before we sort of, we are going towards wrapping it up, unless somebody wants to join and ask questions. Yeah, people are free to do that. They can ask questions to you. Um, what would be your, you're saying that you want to be in India for indefinite amount of time. You have no plans to leave.
Mm,
What is it that's keeping you here? I'm sure it's more than the culture and the colors or the smells and
mm.
um, yeah, and all of that as well. Besides that, so what is it that's keeping you here? And I think it's somewhere connected to that question. What is the thing that you probably um, which touched you the most in this land?
Mm. I feel like I actually feel more like in my homeland here than I do back in Europe. I feel like everything that's naturally part of the Indian culture is also how I would do things if there were no other humans around and I had my life, I was alone in the universe. How would I do things? It seems to be very similar in many ways to how Indians do things. One simple example is sitting on the floor. Is wherever there's no furniture in my room. The only piece of furniture is this small table with
The
books on it.
Puja table, no?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
uh, these chairs, these tables that the Westerners, I think we invented that, the Westerners, and beds as well, these big soft beds, and also the toilets, sitting toilets, and it makes everyone like most Westerners don't know how to sit on the floor, and this is completely against what I would naturally do. What I would do anywhere, get rid of the furniture, just be on the floor and sleep on the floor and do yoga and sleep and eat on the floor as well. And this is one thing. It's still very alive in India, even though India is starting to follow the West. With when people
Mhm.
have more money, they think, oh, let's be like Westerners, let's buy a sofa. But in the end, this makes generations of people who are not really crippled, but Westerners are statistically still much less flexible in their body, and this is due to all this furniture that does everything for us. Another aspect is, for example, vegetarianism. I've never seen it so alive as in India, and in the West, it's an alternative thing. You can find vegetarian food, but you have to look
It's
for
very
it. You
it's very niche actually. It's something which is, yeah, it's not
have,
mainstream yet.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes you have a very hard time if you're avoiding meat, you can't even go to certain places because all they have is meat dishes, and that's another example. And there's also the simple example of putting so much importance into the dharma. And in the West, we seem to have put more importance into the material rules and laws of physics, which are perfectly legit. They're true, but they only describe what's kind of on the outside. And in India, we haven't lost this respect towards the practices that describe what's in the inside. So there's just another example is in India. If you walk around almost naked, barefoot, and you sleep outside and you meditate, everybody will say, "Oh, Babaji," and have the highest respect. And in Europe, if you do exactly the same thing, people would consider you like a homeless bum, and they would probably try to
Weirdo.
get you
Yeah.
in those homes, like homeless people's shelters or
Yeah.
something. They would have no idea that you could actually be doing this by choice. Maybe you don't want to have all these things. So there's yeah, I just feel very close to the Indian culture from many points of views.
Wow. Wow. And wow, and great. I mean, you're enjoying the best of the both worlds, I guess, because yes, you get this, these aspects in India, and also you are in Himachal Pradesh, which is very much like Switzerland, right? You have this
Yeah,
in the foothills of Dhauladhars, which looks like a little bit of Alps, no? So
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
miss home that much.
No, I don't miss home because I really feel at home where I am, and on the road as well. I really felt at home everywhere I am. I sink into the culture. So yeah, I don't
Beautiful.
miss home. I'm good.
Beautiful. So Ben, I we have a caller, Divyo, and I'm just taking him on the stream, and maybe you'd like to ask a question. Okay.
Mm,
So welcome, Divyo ji. If you have a question for Ben, please go ahead.
I think his mic, maybe his
I
microphone
think
is
so.
turned on.
Yes. Hello,
Oh, आपसे मिलके खुशी हुई.
दिव्यो जी, अगर आपको कोई सवाल पूछना है तो
Guten Abend.
we can't hear you clearly. Your audio is.
Am I audible? Hello.
Would you mind just logging out and trying logging in again? I will wait for you.
Am I audible? Hello.
Maybe you
Hello.
can just maybe you can just log out and log in again. We'll wait for you. Okay, so we'll wait for Divyo for a minute before we, you know.
Mm.
Yeah, Ben. I
So
mean, I think it's your life has been it's an inspiration for me, and I'm sure for people who are watching, and it's something which is yeah something to learn and something to something to emulate and something to imbibe. Um, yeah, I also feel that there's um, so much to so much of depth in our the spiritual aspects of this land, okay,
yeah,
which
yeah,
can give us real happiness and peace, which all of us are looking for. Whatever we do, eventually we are seeking that peace and that and well-being and joy. So
yeah. Inner truths.
exactly, exactly. So we have Divyo, and hopefully Divyo, we can hear you right now. And then we have Truth Seeker as well. So Truth Seeker is seeking for truth. So Divyo, let's give Divyo an option to ask the question first. Divyo, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Sidhartha, and Guten Abend, Ben Baba. Weekend
Good enough.
SG.
Ich bin gut.
No,
Dankeschön.
no.
Du hast Deutsch gelernt. Du
Sorry, sir.
sprichst Deutsch.
That was the German that I know. I don't know any German.
Okay.
Ben speak French, I guess, right? Ben French is your mother
Yeah,
tongue.
actually, I'm from the French part, but we did learn German at school, so my German's enough to understand Divyo's questions. So it's okay. We learned basic German. Yeah.
So it was very nice to meet you, sir, and we are very grateful that you are in India and spreading Hinduism all across the world. So thank you, sir. And I have just a small question for you. Um, you see, I have seen that there are lots of vegan restaurants in Europe, vegan and vegetarian restaurants, but now you are saying that they are very less. So, what is the reason behind that? And my second question will be, you see, the Western countries, they always try to teach us morality, but the dishes that they have, I mean, a few days ago, I have seen a particular dish and I felt it is very disgusting. It's called foie gras. I think you have heard about that. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, yeah. So I think it is a very bad thing to do all these kind of cruel things to animals. So
Yeah.
what is your opinion on that? Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So the first question, it's true. Places like vegan, vegetarian restaurants, they are emerging, and it's really nice. Just as much as the Eastern teachings are emerging in the West, and people are turning towards meditation because they're already rich and they're not happy yet, so they're like, oh, I need something else. Uh, but it's also kind of funny how these vegetarian, and especially vegan, they're usually quite a bit more expensive. They kind of considered fancy places for yeah, an alternative lifestyle, but it's not. Yeah, vegetarianism isn't an everyday thing. Let's say if you would go to just the most simple canteen or eatery, it would be, if you could find a vegetarian dish there, then you would be lucky. You'd be very happy, and sometimes you can, but it's much less, yeah, much less spread than in India. That's for sure. it's not considered the norm. But it is very respected. So in Europe, if I say, oh, I won't have that, I'm vegetarian, they'll be like, wow, respect. Wow, I could never live without meat. So people do respect that, but somehow it's just, it's not mainstream. And the question about these, what we do to animals, it's very real, and it's so real that people don't want to think about it. And if we publish a video of what happens inside these industries that produce meat or produce this kind of product, if anyone saw that, they wouldn't eat meat anymore. But it's probably just about economy. It's not whoever's selling the meat, they don't want people to see how it's produced, so they do their best that no one thinks about it. And so it's a bit like lying to ourselves. Like we buy the meat from the supermarket and we don't think what happened before that. And if we did, we wouldn't buy it in the first place. So it's actually being slaves of our own sense pleasures. If people, they take pleasure in eating meat, and so they don't want to consider anything else, and they don't even want to think about where that meat came from. So it's a very real problem, or very real issue. And in the end, we all have that in different aspects. Even for those who don't eat meat, in our everyday life, we consume a lot of products, and we create. We have a big impact on the world. It's almost impossible to comprehend with how much we're impacting the world in everyday life. And so it's a bit overwhelming. But what to do? I think if we want to not be overwhelmed, oh, I'm using a phone and there's plastic inside, and this plastic comes from there, and so I should stop using a phone. But in the end, everything we do, it creates some impact in both ways. So if you want to feel good about it, if you want to have clarity, we can just think intention. May I use resources that I need in terms of doing good, of bringing something positive, and respect to everyone. Even if I'm eating even a carrot, oh, the carrot used to be alive and I'm eating it. But if I don't eat it, I will die myself. And one day I will die myself and someone will eat me. In the end, as long as the intention is good and as there's no negative emotions involved, I think that's the best we can do about it.
Wow.
Sorry for my long answer to your question.
Thank you so much. And sir, I am sorry if I have offended you. Then I'm really sorry. But yeah, thank you so much.
Not at all, Divya. I think and I'm sure Ben is not offended. It's a very relevant question. Yeah. And before we invite Truth Seeker, I'll just share my experience as well as experience about the question that you asked. I feel there is a huge amount of interest in Indic philosophy and also lifestyle and culture, in the West, which includes, you can see how yoga is popular, how our philosophy, the Vedanta, Buddhism, vegetarianism, veganism, all of that, it's meditation is so popular in the West. And but at the same time, the consumption of meat is growing rapidly in India. Okay, I don't have the figures at the top of my head, but so this is like two opposite sides. So that's something which I really wanted to tell you. And it's unfortunate, but this is true. It's happening. Okay, but still, I would say, like, I would agree with Ben. It's still not mainstream yet in the West. As mainstream.
The West is starting to follow the East more, and the East is still on the way to trying to follow what the West used to be, and who knows where it'll end up. But but I think it'll still end up at the truth, back where it started, but with new perspective.
Beautiful. I hope so as well. Yeah. Thank you, Divya.
Thank you, Sidhartha, for taking me and for giving me the opportunity to talk to you guys. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Pleasure, Divya. Have a good night. And Truth Seeker ji, welcome.
Thank you. Namaste. Am I audible?
Namaste.
Namaskar ji.
Very much, very
Absolutely.
well.
थैंक यू एक्चुअली मैं ये मनु जी को बोलना चाहूंगा प्लीज अपना माइक एंड कैमरा अलाउ कीजिए देन आई कैन ऐड इन योर द स्टूडियो अदरवाइज इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल तो पहले अलाउ करके रीलॉग इन कीजिए प्लीज सो नमस्ते बहन जी हाउ आर यू
Namaskar ji. I'm very good. Bahut khosh. Anand. Dhanyavad.
I would like to know what was your experience like if I say walking for thousands of kilometers from Switzerland to India. It was really painful, or it was a pleasure to do such a thing.
Mm. It is actually very pleasurable. It is a real pleasure because I realize that the pain, if the pain only comes from our own mind, and if I'm going up a hill, is a typical example. If I think, when will I get to the top of the hill? I want to be at the top because when I'm at the top, I can start to go back down. I want to be at the top. And then in the present, there's a huge pain, and it's so hard, and it feels like it takes ages to get to the top. And if instead I think I just I don't even look at the top. Let's pretend there is no top. Let's pretend this hill will go on for eternity. So let's just learn to enjoy it, enjoy what's now. And suddenly everything becomes the pain completely disappears. Also, I walk a bit slower, and so I realize that the only pain comes from being in a hurry. And if I'm in a hurry, I try to walk fast, and then I have physical pain too. I break my knees, my ankles because I was forcing it. And so, if the mental, worried, busy state of mind, trying to accomplish things, if I let go of that, then physical pain also disappears because, first of all, I'm straight instead of being forward like that, looking at the goal. And then the body is relaxed and a bit slower, but still doing the distance and really enjoying it. So, in the end, the whole trip, it's a very simple, just this a simple click and mindset. And the whole trip was really, really enjoyable. Just learning to enjoy where I am now, enjoy every step. So there was a tiny bit of pain, but it's always been due to mental reasons. So all in all, really pleasurable.
Uh, that means okay. So that means that there is a will, there is a way, right? So it's a
uh,
really nice to know. You are really inspiring us to like take a journey of life, whatever like hurdle we are going to face, but we have to face it to like for that we have to just control our mind. That's a really great thing to know. Thank you for that. And
yeah,
also I would like to add one more question to put up together. How you felt when you reach Kumbh Mela, and how you feel at that time? Finally, you like climbed on the top of Mount Everest. So, what do you feel after that when you reach Kumbh Mela?
yeah. Reaching Kumbh Mela and reaching the quite similar to reaching the Indian border after the whole trip through all these countries. Reaching Kumbh Mela, not so much as seeing the Ganga, because it was the first time I saw the Ganga. So when I saw the Ganga, for me that's like okay, I made it. I made it to the Ganga, and it was a feeling of release and of bliss that's very hard to describe, and it's I would say the most pleasant part of that feeling is just being aware, just absolute awareness, and seeing like the mind stops, and then I become aware of everything and the beauty of life, and not just because the Ganga is beautiful, everything around it is beautiful, and the moment is beautiful. So this was, yeah, a feeling of accomplishment, like something that had to be done was finished, and a feeling of release. But in the end, I think the most important part of this is, if we're present, then everything becomes beautiful in the same way, even with no accomplishment. But it turns out you accomplish something, so then the mind is in a state where there's nothing to think about anymore. We made it, we're here. And the state can be reached even without walking for for 5 years. This state can be reached just by sitting on our balcony. But it's just why did I do all
Mm,
this? But it's just about being present, and then everything becomes beautiful.
yeah, yeah. In this room right now, right here in this moment.
Hmm, hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, Truth Seeker Ji, thank you very much for your questions. And Ben, it's been a pleasure, hosting you, talking to you. And I wish you all the best in your future endeavors and
Hmm.
all the best of hope you get the Indian citizenship very soon.
Yeah. Apparently, there's a rule. If I stay 12 years continuously in India, then I get the passport. I get citizenship.
Yeah.
I have to stay 12 years. And for those 12 years, I have to juggle with all the other paperwork. And then they'll be like, okay, you win. You won it so much. Okay, we give it to you. Let's see. It's all this is relative truth.
True. Yeah. Yeah. So, like you said that that yeah, enlightenment or truth is right here, right now. Doesn't matter where we are. It's just here with us all the time. And I think that's the takeaway I take from this conversation.
Hmm.
And I would urge everybody who's listening and will listen when it's because it's going to be on YouTube to have a look at your book, and your life
Ah.
has been inspiring, and have a give it a read. And
And there's this Singh who seems to have a question, but can you see it as well? It's in Hindi, so
yeah, I
maybe I
can
can.
see that. Yeah,
Hindi. बाबा को भारत में कैसा अनुभव हुआ और आध्यात्मिक oh it's gone now.
yeah,
So
आध्यात्मिक अनुभव, one second, I'll show it to you.
hmm.
आध्यात्मिक अनुभव के बारे में बाबा जी का क्या कहना है? ओके। सो बाबा
भारतीय
जी ने बहुत
आध्यात्मिक
कुछ कहा। आई मीन
ज्ञान के बारे में
ये हाँ।
it's gone again.
And then
Okay.
I just, I'm sure I would want you to answer this, but I can tell the gentleman who asked the question that, he should watch the video. आप वीडियो को शुरू से देखें जब आपके पास समय हो, और हम पिछले 1 घंटे 20 मिनट से ज़्यादातर
Uh,
हम लोग इसी बारे में बात कर रहे थे. But Ben, you can, if you want to summarize this, maybe in
no,
Hindi because he
I
asked in Hindi.
didn't answer the question.
I'll just show you the question once again.
Hmm. भारत में कैसा अनुभव हुआ और आध्यात्मिक अनुभव कैसा रहा भारतीय आध्यात्मिक ज्ञान के बारे में बाबा जी का क्या कहना है? Yeah, it is what I've been it's what I've been saying for since the beginning, but I can say it in 2 sentences. That's the experience on the way to India was life changing because learning to accept whatever the universe gives me. और अनुभव कैसा रहा के मतलब future. No, raha is also the past. Yeah, so
Rahman is also
uh,
he's asking about we also asking about the past and also the present. What was the
okay.
experience basically?
Yeah, क्या कहने हैं
What's your experience?
भारतीय
What was your experience?
आध्यात्मिक या भारतीय आध्यात्मिक के बारे में ये बहुत पुराना है और बहुत मूल्यवान है और जो चाहिए सब कुछ मिल सकते हैं ये आध्यात्मिक में और कुछ नया मॉडर्न ना चाहिए सच पहले से और सच अभी है और सच सच्चाई है
Yeah, beautiful, Ben. So yeah, we like everything has to
Uh,
has to
I
end.
have
Hmm.
I have some connection issues, but if you allow me, can I make one comment, please?
Hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, uh, Ben and Siddharth, both for it's a good news for both of you. We are trying to start ashram, and we are working on acquired the land for that. So it's from like IndiQ Parivar, IndiQ family. So I hope one day we can get together on our own ashram. So please, everyone support our cause. In future, we will keep you updated. And I hope Ben Baba would come and stay with us in the ashram. Probably it's going to happen in Goa, and we are going to acquire 20 acres of land, plus minus whatever going to happen. But we are like very optimistic it's going to happen in eventually. So please give us some blessings so we can succeed in our dreams.
Mm.
It's a great news, Truthika. All the best, of course. Ben,
And you will
we
succeed.
love to meet you.
You will succeed because the intention is pure. So anything done with the intention of doing good, we can only reach our cause. Nothing will get in the way.
Yeah,
Thank you,
amazing,
thank
Truthika. Mm. Thank you, Benji, and you have a good night. I think we're just sending it within the stipulated time that we had agreed
Yeah.
upon. Yeah.
And before we finish, I'll just say a few words about everyone who's watching this video now, what they will do after when it turns off. One thing we could do is, let's have a meditation together with a gong and some guided instructions. But meditation is quite an inner experience. So I really recommend that as soon as this is over, as soon as the screen is off and you close whatever, and just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whoever's watching, just sit there and observe your breath and be there. And don't do anything at all until this certain amount of time sitting in presence. And then you can go to bed or whatever you were going to do. But give this gap, and I recommend, because that's the best thing we can get from the Indian culture is this practice of awareness.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you. Thank you for thank you for ending with these wise words. That's the reason we started this channel, and we also have a meditation course running on this channel. So yeah, thank you very much for reminding us, reminding our viewers. Okay.
Mm.
Have a good night, all of you.
Yeah, good night. Bless you all. Mangal ho. Thank you.
Mangal ho.